Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Sucker Punch. Why am I reviewing Sucker Punch? Because in my last video, I read the comments, somebody said, are you going to review Sucker Punch? It just showed up on Netflix, and I checked it, and it did, and now I saw it, and now here's the video starting. So, this is, you probably can't tell. You could tell, I'm a little verklempt right now, talk amongst yourself, but I'm a little bit emotional because I just finished it, and it's freaking awesome. And that is so strange for me to say because I've spent the last 9 years hating it. When it first came out in 2011, 2011? Yeah, 2011, I believe. I was very, very excited. One of the trailers was awesome. And I watched it over and over and over again when I was going to get my animation degree. We'd have the nice, Apple computers in the lab. And I watched it dozens of times. So excited. And then I went to see it, and it was a super bomb. Actually no, I think a super bomb is when you make like a quarter of your budget. It basically made its budget, which you need to make a lot more if you're going to turn a profit. You're supposed to make, I think, 2.5 times your budget to start turning a profit. And this is a guy who had done 300, but he also had flopped with Watchmen, 2 years before, so he was, targeted. The stink was on him. And also Zack Snyder has always been in the crosshairs. I believe it's because it's kind of like a Michael Bay thing. He does popcorn stuff, but he's also very middle American, and I believe in Hollywood he's expected to be very far left. I'm sure he's just a regular Democrat, but they're like, oh, something, the people in flyover country like you, so you're a suspect. So anyway, I saw the movie and I freaking hated it. 9 years later, every time I would just see it, and people really didn't talk about it. It kind of went down the memory hole. But I just rewatched it, and it was very funny because in the first half of it, it was both better and worse than I remembered. And then, since I was paying attention, because I've got a bad habit, and I don't think it's just me, of, if something pisses me off in the first few minutes, first 10 minutes of the movie, I'm kind of mentally checked out. I'm like, what is that? What is that? So this one, I kind of knew what to expect, kind of like when I rewatched the Matrix sequels. And I was also paying attention more because I was like, well, not only I'm watching on my phone, so it's 6 inches away from my face, but when you're doing a review, you want to be responsible and not just I don't know. Oh, those two were sisters? I didn't know. You got to pay attention. So the thing that's bothered me about this is it was kind of billed as some sort of Alice in Wonderland mixed with the Alice in Wonderland mixed with the Matrix type of thing. And what it is okay, so it's this deeply odd type of thing where you have a reality story, although it's still like a Zack Snyder, so everyone's very you know what I mean. It doesn't look like reality as you see it right now. It looks like a Zack Snyder movie. But that's the reality. A girl who's got a molester for a stepfather. Her mother died. She tries to protect her younger sister. She ends up killing her accidentally, and then she goes to an insane asylum. The father is trying to basically get her bumped off so she can't blab. So he's basically paying, I believe, an orderly to make sure she gets a lobotomy, even though she's not. She doesn't rate a lobotomy. So that's one story. In that world, we don't spend a lot of time. The entire movie might spend about 10 minutes in the, quote, real world. Most of the movie is spent in the, I'll call it the hyper-real world, where she is still in a confined space, but it's some sort of dance hall, brothel situation going on, which is weirdly still kind of the same asylum. It's basically dream logic type of thing. Here's where it broke me. And honestly, if you're watching this for the first time and it breaks the whole movie for you, I totally understand, because it's deeply weird. Okay, so let's take it back to the Matrix. Okay, so there's Neo and all the people in the real world, which is this hellscape dystopia. And then there's the Matrix, where they're kind of cooler versions, and it's it looks 20th century, America. But then there's another level. So it's a woman in an insane asylum having a breakdown, imagining this kind of fantasy world, this kind of like brothel asylum type of thing. But then there's essentially a video game, and this is set like vaguely in, I don't know, the 40s, the 50s? Probably the 50s. It's set in a video game world, and a very odd video game world. One of the things, I've never been much of a gamer, but you know, I had a little bits and, you know, periods of time where I was really into video games. And it's always frustrating when they don't get video games correctly. So again, there's the real world, girl in the insane asylum, she's going to be lobotomized. There's the hyper real world, girl in a brothel asylum who's going to be, you know, raped by a guy, so they're trying to get her out before she gets raped. And then there's the video game world. Holy shit. It sounds like I'm taking freaking bath salts when I explain this. The video game world is, Jesus, symbolic of the things done in the hyper-real world, which are also symbolic of the things happening in the real world. Jesus Christ. Sorry. So basically, one of the things, so the main character, her name is Baby Doll, and she's a great dancer, which is really hard to believe because they never show her dancing. And also, even when they show her like about to go, like, she is so stiff. Like, even her just like swaying her, you know, hips and shoulders, getting ready to dance, it looks like grim death. But apparently she's so good at dancing in the hyper real world that everyone just becomes like mesmerized, and then the other girls can go do little things about, you know, we need a lighter, we need a knife, we need a map, and they can go around and steal those things. So the thing that is the worst of this movie, which actually does work if you kind of unclench and see it twice. Is that a video title? I think I'm going to go with the original one. It's like, ironically enough, no one was ready for Sucker Punch. The video game level is awful, and it breaks common things of video games. Like, you can't have a boss fight in a tutorial, which is the first time when they're at this Japanese fortress. And it's her first time in this world. Now, you can say it's a delusion in a delusion, so she doesn't need to ramp up. So there's basically, I had the problem there, you know, you go to the training level in the Matrix, and then you go to the Matrix, and you get downloaded, I know, Kung Fu. Well, after getting hit a couple times, just kind of knows how to do everything in this fantasy world. And it's very, very frustrating, because that's one of the things about stories and movies. We need to either be told this person has been a ninja for 10 years and they're the best ninja and that's why they're so good at being a ninja, or we need to see them train, even if it's a montage, even if we are told they have Kung Fu directly, you know, injected into their brain. Well, we still need to see them practice and realize, oh shit, I actually do know Kung Fu. Oh, but I have to, you know, apply this, that, and the other thing, and I have to, you know. No, she's just good at it, and they're pretty boring. I will say one thing. They do this, you know, weapons handling, and I just watched, I'm watching Aliens. It's taking me like a month. It's good. I like it. Now, James Cameron, he likes the military, he likes factories, he likes strong women, he likes, you know, 18-wheelers. He has all these things he likes. The weapons handling, you can tell that they think they're doing a good job, but, like, it's so, like, the weapons handling and, you know, the pieing off corners and the CQB is better in an episode of The A-Team than it is in the Aliens movie, which, you know, Cameron likes to do research. I believe his brother is a Marine. Or it was, you know, back in the day. But the weapons handling is actually pretty legit. And the fights and the fight choreography and the gun fu actually works. The problem is we're in a symbolic video game level of a hyper-real, and you're just like, what is this? The really interesting level is the hyper-real world, the kind of brothel asylum. That is interesting. The video game stuff is painful as shit. In fact, the only one that really works is the third one, where I don't want to spoil it, and it kind of, like, at one point the girls are punching robots with their bare hands. Like, are there any, like, why did they even have guns and knives and swords in the first one when they're basically Superman in this world. And again, this world is just a symbolic visual representation of what they're doing in the hyper-real world and what I don't want to spoil it, but what's happening in the real world. So you're like, what's going on? Now then there is the feminist angle, because this was kind of sold on like hot, cool chicks doing badass things. And it's a really deeply sad story about molestation and abuse and rape. So when they dress up in like manga, anime, cute, badass girl outfits, you're like, this is supposed to be sexy and fun, but this story is neither sexy or fun. It is an interesting story, and the emotional beats work if you don't get wrapped around the axle or the transaxle. I actually stopped. They mentioned a transaxle in Alien, so I went to go look it up, and I read the Wikipedia, and I still don't understand. It's the axle, the differential, and the transmission all in like one giant thing? At one point, Corporal says, hey, we got to stop. You ruined the transaxle. So I looked it up. Anyway, if you get wrapped around the axle or the transaxle, the emotional beats work. The story is not an action movie. It's a tragedy. In this one, I was very, very frustrated because I was like, one character seems to be the lead character, but it feels like these other characters have a much better and deeper and richer story. And it works, but you might have to watch it twice. So anyway, besides that, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I will have to say that the first time I saw it, I was frustrated because I kept thinking that the video game level was like the real movie, and the other parts were just the black and white, Kansas scenes from Wizard of Oz. Nobody thinks about the black and white scenes as like the real movie, but the real movie is the middle level. It's the hyper-real, it's the brothel asylum level. That's the part where everything works. And it works when we finally go back down to the real world again. Although it's still a Zack Snyder real world, so everything looks like a photo shoot. Lots of burnishing and, processing of the film. And I'm sure this is done digitally. Probably, yeah, most likely. But anyway, it is a recommend. Once again, you will probably have to watch it twice to enjoy it, because ironically enough, you're not ready for this movie. I think this movie is excellent, but like I said, it has issues that seem like issues that are actually explained, but they're all explained like in the last 2 minutes, so I'm sure 95% of people were mentally checked out by the time. Oh God, I was like angry in that theater. Like angry. I was like, I thought I was going to watch a Matrix movie, and this obviously is not. It's, like I said, it's more into Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz than it is the Matrix. And the video game stuff is excruciating. Although they did have pretty darn good weapons handling. Not only just weapons handling, but just general movement as a team, as a squad. CQB moving through frickin' trenches was actually pretty legit. So anyway, thanks for watching. And I think I will finally be reviewing Aliens for the next video. Anyway, thanks for watching.